From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Friday, August the 25th, 2017. The U.S. peace delegation met last night in Ramallah with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. White House advisor Jared Kushner led the team, which also includes U.S. Special Envoy for International Negotiations Jason Greenblatt and U.S. Deputy National Security Advisor for Strategy Dina Powell. Palestinian news agency Wafa reported that Abbas expressed optimism for the kickstart of peace talks with Israel, saying, "We know that the issue is difficult and complex, but nothing is impossible in the face of good efforts." The delegation met earlier yesterday, as we reported to you, with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Tel Aviv, who later released a press statement saying U.S. officials discussed ways to promote peace and prosperity in the region. He said that the talks were helpful and meaningful. And staying with the Prime Minister, Netanyahu asked Israel's Public Security Minister Gilad Erdan to look into accusations that at least 2 female rabbinical students were subjected to unlawful searches as they tried to enter the Western Wall Plaza in order to take part in a prayer service yesterday. As we reported to you, U.S. leaders of the reform movement wrote a letter to the Prime Minister outraged at the incident, in which they say that 2 Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion students were pulled aside by security officials at the site and asked to lift their shirts and skirts, apparently in a search for anything the women might be hiding, like Torah scrolls, which are forbidden to enter the site. The reform leaders said these searches were degrading and in violation of Israel's Supreme Court rulings on the subject. Netanyahu's office said in response to the letter that he and Erdan agreed that if this indeed took place as described, it is unacceptable and will be addressed in accordance with the law and the instructions of the court. A delegation of Israeli Knesset members returned from a historic visit to South Africa this week. According to the Jewish agency who helped organize the trip, this was the first ever such delegation of lawmakers from Israel's parliament to visit the country. The group met in Johannesburg with several political figures, including former President Kgalema Motlanthe and African Union Chairwoman Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. The Jewish agency partnered with the Knesset, Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and with the South African Jewish community to arrange the visit. Its Secretary General Josh Schwartz, who accompanied the delegation, said this is part of the Jewish agency's ongoing joint initiative with the Knesset to bring dozens of MKs and Israeli government decision makers to Jewish communities worldwide. He said these visits are critical to strengthening the bonds with Israel and to deepening Israeli leaders' understanding of the challenges facing the diaspora. The Jerusalem Post reports that Frankfurt has become the first city in Germany to pass legislation against the BDS movement, the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions campaign that seeks to delegitimize the State of Israel. The city passed the bill today, which outlaws municipal funding and space to provide for BDS activities. It was spearheaded by Frankfurt Deputy Mayor Uwe Becker, who told the Post that BDS strongly attacks the fundamental basis of the legitimation of the Jewish state and takes the detour via anti-Zionism to spread anti-Semitism. The legislation will now go to the city's parliament, who will vote on it in a few weeks. But Becker expressed confidence that the support of today's vote from the city government was enough to get it to pass. A 25-year-old man was arrested this week for anti-Semitic and racist graffiti found in several locations in Philadelphia. George Rissell was charged with 8 counts each of ethnic intimidation, criminal mischief, and disorderly conduct for vandalism, which included swastikas and racial slurs. Found this week spray-painted outside a convenience store as well as on a vehicle and on street signs. Investigators say that Rissell has past associations with white supremacy groups. The David Project has joined Hillel International. The pro-Israel campus advocacy group is being integrated into Hillel's Israel Education and Engagement Department, which is called Hinenu. The two organizations have collaborated for about 5 years on Israel outreach efforts on college campuses, and Hillel CEO Eric Fingerhut said that Hillel values the approach the David Project has taken to build strong relationships on campus with a wide array of students to strengthen the pro-Israel community. He said this work complements Hillel's vision of broadening the network of support for Israel throughout the campus. 100 teenagers from 3 different continents took part in a photo competition of images reflecting their connection to the Jewish people. 25 photos were selected and are now on display at Beit HaTfutzot, the Museum of the Jewish People in Tel Aviv. The Jewish Lens Photo Competition is a joint initiative of the museum and renowned photographer Tzion Ozeri. And looking now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Friday, August the 25th, live Shabbat services are coming up at 6 o'clock from New York City's Central Synagogue, followed by a performance from musical groups Pharaoh's Daughter and the Moshav Band. At 8, author Malcolm Gladwell speaks at the 92nd Street Y, and at 9, it's the documentary 1 out of 10. At 10 tonight, a tribute to Polish Holocaust hero Jan Karski, and at 10:30, it's Muzika with Israeli singer Inbal. And coming up right after this newscast tonight at 5:30, Rabbi Shlomo Riskin looks at this week's Torah portion. And that's the JBS News Update for Friday, August the 25th, 2017. I'm Teisha Bader. Shabbat Shalom.